Hello folks. This Building Roller Coasters video guide is designed to supplement the Building Roller Coasters written guide, which provides all project details that include a project summary, key vocabulary and background, materials and their associated costs, a procedure and design criteria, activity extensions for students who need more, activity scaling to differentiate instruction, and a conclusion. Both the video and written project guides assume an audience of non-engineers. Let's get going. In building roller coasters, teams of 2 to 10 students, that's quite a variance there, but we'll figure that out. Learn about energy and energy transformation, then design and build a roller coaster model, either using a purchased roller coaster model kit, which we strongly suggest, or an equivalently priced do-it-yourself roller coaster model built from pipe insulation, toothpicks, masking tape, and marbles. Use the purchased roller coaster model we mentioned. Our approach is a creative variation of teachengineering.org's Physics of Roller Coasters activity and Engineering Go For It's Paper Roller Coasters activity. Let's talk vocabulary. First term is energy. Energy is the ability to do work. We know that energy is real because energy has products and byproducts that we can feel. If I lift 225 pounds, if I bench press 225 pounds, that's a big if. If I did it 25 times, frankly, to do it once would be quite a feat. But doing it would cause me to have sweat on my brow. That's how I know I'm doing work. That's how I know that energy is real. Second term is potential energy. That's the energy stored by an object that is ready to be used or expended. As I sit in this chair, I am a bundle of stored energy ready to stand up and head to the refrigerator. Kinetic energy is the energy of an object in motion. That's me after I stand up and walk to the refrigerator to find something to eat. Next up is force. Now, force is any push or pull. The forces relate to energy and work mathematically. Work is a force exerted over a certain distance. When I move that 225 pounds from right above my neck and extend my arms, I've used force, moved through a distance, I've done work, I've got sweat on my brow. That's how I know I've done work. Next up is gravity. Now, gravity is a force. It's a force that draws any two objects toward one another. If I drop this little bead, gravity pulls it to my tabletop. If I jumped out of an airplane, equipped with a safe and operable parachute, I will be pulled towards the earth at a pretty significant speed, but my parachute will help to slow me down enough to land safely. Next term is speed. Speed is how fast an object moves without regard to its direction. Next up is velocity. Now, velocity is how fast an object moves with respect to its direction. Critical velocity, very important roller coaster term. Critical velocity is the speed that you need at the top of a loop-de-loop for the roller coaster car to make it through the loop without falling off of the track. Final term is acceleration. That is how quickly an object speeds up, slows down, or changes direction. We experience this on the highway when we jump into the fast lane and we try to pass all the cars in the slow lane, and sometimes the cars in the slow lane are going really fast. So if we want to pass them, we press our accelerator and hit what we call the passing gear, where our engine revs really loudly and our car starts to pick up speed faster and faster and faster. That's acceleration. Now let's talk a little wisdom earned through lessons learned from building roller coaster models and from riding. Point of disclosure number one: I am not a big fan of riding roller coasters. I've done it several times. I've experienced it with great awareness. I'm not sure if I'll ever actually do it again. I'm a little older now. It might be time for my daughter to do stuff like that, and not necessarily me. I am, though, a very big fan of watching roller coasters. I'm fascinated by them, frankly. There are a lot of engineering principles that are difficult for me to conceptualize, to wrap my mind around and visualize when I have not experienced them. Now, experiencing roller coasters, both as a child and an adult, have made it much easier for me to appreciate and understand the physics that describe and even quantify their performance. Now, to prepare for this project, my daughter Hannah and I built the K'NEX Firestorm Freefall roller coaster. That's model 51539. It was built back in 2012. It's got 673 pieces. It's a pretty intricate roller coaster model. Now, it took us about 8 hours over the course of 7 days to build, because we were going pretty slowly and making sure that we did everything correct, even though we didn't, which is part of what we're discussing here. But this thing works. I mean, boy, oh boy, does it work. And it was thrilling to see it work for the first time, and every subsequent time. It never gets old. Now, we recommend several nicer and newer K'NEX roller coaster models that have fewer pieces, because the more pieces, the longer the assembly time, and the more likely you are to run into and have errors that you have to fix. But the Firestorm Freefall stands out because of its height. It's nearly 3 feet tall, and in the roller coaster model world, that's a giant. The other thing that stands out about this one is what I call its action, okay? It's fast. In roller coaster model terms, it's very fast. And it's inverted. Those are the ones where the riders ride with their legs dangling and the car runs under the track. This is the only model that I could find with an inverted roller coaster, and I like those. That's what made me less afraid to ride roller coasters back when the Batman debuted at Six Flags. This had to be in 1999, somewhere thereabouts. Inverted roller coasters helped me get back onto one and ride them. So this Firestorm Freefall is now a rare model, and it can cost anywhere from 2 to 3 times as much as the models we recommend, which are all around 35 bucks. Firestorm Freefall can run you 70 to 100 bucks, depending on where you try to get it from. But we like it, and we like it a lot, and I think that's why folks are paying premium prices for them now. Now, having the working model allowed us to intuitively observe the underlying scientific phenomena in ways that calculations just can't. You see it and you feel it. Perhaps the greatest illustration of this power of observation is that my 5-year-old daughter, Hannah, could look at that roller coaster and identify where it moved the fastest and the slowest without knowing anything about the physical predictions of these slow speeds and fast speeds. You can see them. She gasped as the roller coaster headed into the loop, because her mind said, oh my I hope they don't fall. And she clapped when they made it through the loop. She clapped every time until she kind of figured out, okay, they're not going to fall, but this is still amazing. At any age, now that's a thrilling observation. And that type of visual, visceral, non-technical introduction may make Hannah want to know one day, how did that roller coaster make it through the loop? Now, the answer to this question lies in the concept of critical velocity, which we defined earlier. Hannah may want to know how the roller coaster has enough energy to just fall all the way to the bottom of the chain lift, roll all the way around the track, and then get lifted to the top of the chain lift again to repeat the process. Now, that answer lies in the height of that lift, the force of friction, and the positioning of all the loop-de-loops around the roller coaster. Now, these answers I mentioned require precise measurement and calculation, but emphasizing these calculations too early and too much, frankly, kills the vibe. It kills the whole vibe. Roller coasters are fun and can draw young people in to want to know more. And boy, when they push that button and say, tell me more, that's when you tell them more. That's when you tell them more. Now, here are some other lessons learned during building and watching our Firestorm Freefall model. Lesson 1. Chain lift carries the roller coaster to a height where it has the most potential of stored energy. Now, as the roller coaster begins to fall because of gravity, its potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. That's the moving energy plus heat because of friction. The presence of friction means that the roller coaster really will never reach any height higher than its initial height, the height of the lift, unless you use another chain lift to bring it to a higher height. When riders reach the top of the chain lift, it kind of feels like you're about to jump out of your seat because gravity makes them feel lighter the higher they go into the sky. Now, riders experience the slowest speed and velocity and lowest gravitational force when the roller coaster is at the top of the chain lift, and conversely, they experience the fastest speed and the greatest gravitational force when the roller coaster reaches the bottom of the hill. When you get to the bottom of the hill, you begin to feel very heavy because the roller coaster and gravity are making you weigh more than you actually weigh. Now, this excess gravitational force at the bottom of the hills can cause injury. And look it up. Way back when, they caused so many injuries that loops on roller coasters were illegal in this country for many years. During my lifetime, they were illegal. And then in 1976, there was a breakthrough that designed the loop to be less of a circle and more like a teardrop, where the radius at the bottom is bigger than the radius at the top. They're made in a shape now called a clothoid, which is beyond the scope of this discussion, but that's why loops in roller coasters are legal in our society again, and why people love roller coasters so much. But I digress now. Here are a few items that we learned from the actual assembly process. First, pre-assembly can save you a lot of time. We're going to talk about that when we get to our procedure. Some of the smaller, more intricate parts to be assembled can be done by an adult before working with the younger assemblers. We're going to call that activity scaling later on. That's a good way to differentiate instruction and kind of help manage the process when you have younger assemblers. It'll help them stay engaged. Second, follow the instructions carefully. Now, they're there for a reason. One difficulty with model assembly is trying to position the physical model as you build it with the same orientation that you see in the pictures, so that you identify reference points and you connect things properly. You want to be able to see how to connect the pieces properly and have some confidence that you did what the instructions said to do. Now, you're not going to do that all the time anyway, but you got to try to. Because lesson 3 says, well, all mistakes teach lessons, but small lessons, small mistakes, if you will, are much less painful and lead to big lessons. We tested our initial assembly by attaching our roller coaster car and taking it for a little test drive. Everywhere the car got stuck told us where we had made mistakes during assembly, which we were happy to correct. That was a great way to troubleshoot, as it turned out. Now, my 4th instruction is going to sound like a contradiction, but bear with me. Sometimes do not follow the instructions carefully. Our roller coaster got stuck at the top of the chain lift, which helped us to see that we would have to deviate from the instructions slightly to get the roller coaster to work. Now, I show a picture of it here. I show you what we were told to do by the instructions, which was physically impossible with the size of the car. And then I show you what we did to work around what we were told that we knew couldn't actually be that way. We learned that through testing. And I was the chief engineer, so I said it is okay to deviate from the instructions because the instructions are not going to work for us. This did. All right, let's talk materials and costs here. I mentioned before there are 2 recommended ways to construct these model roller coasters, and we have a preference for which one you use. We want you to just get a K'NEX Thrill Rides model. At the cost, get the model, get the model. This approach says use brand new, authentic model kits. These may require anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of construction time, maybe more. It's going to depend on the number of students per team and their work efficiency. I buy a lot of these models used, and I'm buying them from people who started building them and then quit. So I would say there's a high failure rate for projects of this type, but that's where project leadership is going to carry the day, and these tips that I'm providing to help mitigate that time, because you've got to build a lean, mean assembly machine out of students that you will probably be meeting for the first time, and you'll only be together for a short time. So take all of that under advisement. That's why I'm really big on using these kits, because the beauty and operability of the finished product probably results in the best overall student experience between the assembly and watching it work at an equivalent cost to the other option. I'd say consider purchasing one of these brand new K'NEX Thrill Rides roller coaster kits for every 10 students. Get 1 kit for every 10 students. They're available through eBay. There's a link, a search link in the project guide that searches for K'NEX Thrill Rides roller coasters for less than $35, and there are plenty of options. Here are the ones we like. We like Space Invasion. It's got 438 pieces. We like the T-Rex Fury, which has 473 pieces. We like the Mecha Strike with 577 pieces. And we like Vulture's Vengeance with 690 pieces. Remember, the more pieces in each kit, the longer the kit may take to construct. Now, if an alternative is needed and necessary, we have a link to a project called Building Roller Coasters from tryengineering.org. Nope, it's from Engineering Go For It. In this project, students will build their own small-scale model roller coaster using pipe insulation and marbles. They'll then analyze them using physics principles from an associated lesson that we provide a link to. So pay your money, make your choice. Here's the criteria. Now, the criteria is going to assume that you're using the K'NEX Thrill Ride Model Kit. You want to build the model roller coaster first, review the tips presented here in the vocabulary and background section, as well as the ones excerpted from the K'NEX Firestone Freefall Roller Coaster Assembly Manual, which we're going to show you here on screen in a minute. And I want you to consider having an adult construct the more complex parts before the student work starts. Here's the first thing you want to have them build. It's the bottom part of the roller coaster chain lift. That's on page 6. Second item is item 9. It's the loop-de-loop frame. That one's on page 11. Leave it up for a few seconds. Next are items 21 and 22. That's the motorized end of the chain lift. That one's got lots and lots of really small parts. Easy to put together, but they're small. One person needs to put that together. Do it beforehand. That's on page 21. And then finally, items 56 and 57, that's the chain lift itself. Well, the chain. That's on page 39. That chain's got over 100 parts in it that have to be connected, have to be clicked. Do that offline beforehand. Pre-assembly of these items will save you 1 hour of construction time, which will be valuable. It'll be valuable in the pressure that you might be working under. Consider printing additional color full-sized assembly manuals. The one that comes with the kit is beautiful, but it would be better to have 2 or a few, because the images in the manual, they're large, they're crisp, and they're indispensable. Now, they're not infallible though. Remember the mistake that we discovered and the correction that we had to make, but they are better than the alternative, because you have to be able to see this in order to make the proper connections and then reference what you're seeing in the manual to what you're seeing in the physical model. Second thing we suggest doing is watching this excellent roller coaster physics video. It's a little older, but it's an excellent representation of roller coaster physics despite the multiple dislikes from YouTube's vast array of critics. And then have them analyze these models using roller coaster physics principles using teachengineering.org's Physics of Roller Coasters activity. But remember, let them get excited about what they see before you jump into the numbers to verify and quantify what they're seeing. Watching this video and doing this calculated approach might add 1 to 2 hours to the project, so budget your time wisely and accordingly. And consider allocating the additional time if the activity requires extensions and scaling for your older students, which leads me right into the extensions. But what I just mentioned is what I would recommend as your extension. And then there's also a potential energy and kinetic energy lab that takes a calculated approach to looking at the potential energy when you get to the top of the chain lift and the kinetic energy that it is converted to once you reach the bottom. This allows the students to practice calculating potential and kinetic energy at those key points. Be advised though, this lab requires additional materials like a stopwatch and camera. Might get a little involved, but if you need more, that's what I'd say go with. Now, if you need to scale it, do what we mentioned a few minutes back there. And again, I'll reiterate, consider pre-assembling larger sections even of the roller coaster model for your younger students. Build as much of it as you can to allow them to put their hands on building it in a safe and low-risk manner, and letting them concentrate more on experiencing the roller coaster and understanding how it works. This one's fun. That's why the video's long, and it's kind of involved. That's why the video is long. So Have fun with it. Take care, and we will see you soon.